Hello, this is your host Akhil Navluri, and welcome to the brand new episode of the TechOSpace podcast series. In this podcast episode, I'm super thrilled and honored to be collaborating with one of the most eminent and prominent industry leaders of the IT space, Mr. Rodrigo Santos, who happens to be the Director Solutions Consulting of Appian Company, and he's based out of Miami, Florida, USA. So, Rodrigo, it gives me an absolute pleasure to welcome you to this podcast initiative of mine. So, Rodrigo, how are you doing, and how is the pre-Christmas vibe in Florida at the moment in Miami?
First of all, thanks so much, Akhil, for having me in your podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time for having me and to be able to collaborate with you. It's been great so far. I love the weather here in Miami, and I cannot complain. This is always the sunshine state.
Okay, that's pretty good. I mean it's a good way, good kind of a Christmas vibe. I think a summer kind of a Christmas vibe, if I can say, in Miami, something which is similar to that of Sydney, because in Australia right now it's summer period, and they say it's summer Christmas. So I believe in Miami also that's the same spirit going on, with respect to a summer kind of a Christmas.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely. We have a very warm Christmas, which I love. My wife is more in the snowy Christmas type of person. I love a little bit more the warm weather and just the holiday spirits in general is just amazing.
Fantastic, fantastic, Rodrigo. So, Rodrigo, so on that note, without any further ado, let's kick off with our podcast session. All right. Okay, Rodrigo. So, firstly, let's talk about the timeline of your journey in the IT industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I started 20 years ago. I started in Mexico City. I was, as many, I guess, of your podcast listeners, I was also a consultant. I graduated as an engineer, and then my first job was a consultant, and I was doing mostly SharePoint.net development. I had a brief stint at Microsoft as a trainee, and that allowed me to kind of learn a little bit more about technology, and immediately I started working with some projects. My first project actually was with 20th Century Fox, and I was working and flying to LA, visiting the studios, and still doing the technology side that I'm really passionate about. But it was a great eye-opening for me experience in terms of being able to work across boundaries, like be working with other countries, seeing what technology can do. And technology is not based only in a single, the impact that it can have, it is not based on a country, right? It can be cross boundaries. And that was my first time experience something like that. So
Okay.
that really opened my eyes, just give me a little bit understanding. And from there, I got another position in New York, full-time base. I made a transition to New York, and one of my first companies that I was as a customer I was working was a private equity fund called the Carlyle Group. And I was also very happy there. I was still doing SharePoint.net, that type of thing. And in that company, I kind of start learning more about BPM, all the workflows that we were doing behind there. And at some point, the company decided that we needed to get to grow more than just the typical departmental type of tool. And that's where we make the leap to a tool that encompasses a little bit more robust, like Appian. And
Yep.
that's where I started learning a little bit more about it until I finally make the move. And I joined Appian 6 years ago, which I'm very happy in a more of a capacity on the pre-sales type of thing, which I'm very happy that.
That's fantastic, Rodrigo. Rodrigo, so firstly, you told me that you had a hands-on with respect to BPM. So firstly, when you got to know about the concept of BPM, what was your immediate reaction to that?
Well, it was more than BPM. The term it was just so new to me. I was more used to the workflow type of style and the list in SharePoints and the triggers that you can do on that one, right? Like I didn't see it as a whole technology, as a whole platform type of thing, as a whole application. It was just you create a list, you create a platform, and then when Appian started going and kind of again, like kind of opening our eyes in terms of like you should look at this in the lens of how it's going to impact multiple departments, how it's going to have multiple impact with different roles within an application. That's when I start thinking more on the BPM style, and thinking of, okay, this is a business process. This is has
Right.
multiple things, and that was quite interesting for us to experience, and to also for the not only the technology side, but the company to adapt to that type of application. I feel like sometimes, especially for us that we are more technical, we like to have our tool, and this is what we do for certain things, but we're not thinking on the whole scope of things, right? Which is something that I still up to this day, I have to work a lot with my customers and prospects.
That's fantastic, Rodrigo. Now, Rodrigo, would you like to, give me an in-depth insight, into being the director of solutions consulting at your company, Appian?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, a few years ago, I started working with Appian, and I was really drawn by this role for two things. One is that it was focused not only on the sales direct, but also with partners, and trying
Mhm.
to enable all of them to be able to speak our technology, to understand what are the difference that we have, what we can bring to the table, so that they can offer to their own customers and prospects. So I always saw this as a multiplier effect. And the other thing that I was very excited is that it allowed me the opportunity to travel across North America and as well to Latin America, which to me was something also very interesting on that end. And I will say that in that role now, in that capacity, and as a director, I've been working with my team now to enable more and more partners along the road. And it has been very fulfilling, that experience, right? I can tell you from when I started 6 years ago, we were only a couple of people for handling the entire world for enabling partners. And now we have more than 20 people dedicated to this type of role, which is very interesting. And I always feel like it's good that you think about the partners as a customers, right? Like you, and my advice that it goes to the partners also goes internally. I love to receive the feedback from partners. I love to receive it when they're telling us, because they can see other technologies, because others are also talking to them. So I receive all that feedback, and I also tell internally. One of my the things that I do a lot in this role is to teach internally what are the old things that we are doing, other partners are doing, and with other technologies, so that we can also enable them, right? Um, and I also like to see this role as non-transactional in terms of just speaking and saying what I learned from partners, is that when it's just at pre-sales that they just dedicated to a particular deal or a particular customer, well, they jump onto the next one, and then that relationship that you can develop with a person, then it's no longer there, right? So that's why it's important to have this particular type of role, so that it's not transactional, so that the partner trusts you more. You build more
Yeah.
relationship and more trust with this person, then you start opening more, and the enablement flows a little bit easier. um, well, at the end of the day, the collaboration is just what makes it all about it. Like I can tell you that now, all the people that I've met over the years with different partners, they are not only colleagues, but many of them are friends. I love seeing them in the events at Appian World, at other different conferences that we have. Every time we see them, they become close people. At the end of the day, it's all about relationships, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's really amazingly put, Rodrigo. And yes, I mean, talking about more about these partner programs, I will definitely come to that in a bit. But before that, Rodrigo, you have had quite the journey, in your IT industry, in the IT industry timeline. Not having said that, Rodrigo, like, how was your first day of Appian? Like, how was your first day at work? Like, how did that start? And do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. You just make me remind me of quite a few nice memories over there. I can say that, first of all, as a process company, like we want to call us, everything at Appian internally is a process. And I really love the way that Appian does their onboarding because it takes the time to make sure that you understand the technology so that you are collaborating. And the first, I can tell you, the first 2 weeks are more immersed into make sure that you know the right people so that you can ask for help, and also for you to know a little bit more about technology and how you can speak about it. But I remember my first time going into a meeting with a customer and with a partner in the room. It was a completely different situation. I didn't know what to expect, right?
Okay.
What one thing that I was very always, and I remember the first person, I still work with that partner, and it was quite nice to see them. But I remember they were very warm in the way that they would treat me as a colleague, right? So the distinction was kind of blurry, and that was one of the things that always I'm looking to achieve with the partners. That distinction between different companies and the vendor and the consultant kind of is a little bit blurry. I like that because in a way you are seen as working together, right? We have the same objective, which is helping our customers to realize the full potential of the platform. And when we start seeing that together, I really enjoy. And so yeah, that was my first few interactions with partners, and that's what I
Exactly.
kind of love. I also had like, and I remember the first couple of months, I had an opportunity to present to a big audience, which was something that I was also not done before
Okay.
in one of the. It was more like small rooms, and that was also something that I really enjoy of the experience, to be able to go around the world speaking about technology, which is something I'm passionate
Wow, that's like, I would say, big dream achieved and many more to come for sure.
about. For sure.
Fantastic, fantastic, Rodrigo. Now, Rodrigo, coming to, to these, Appian partners. Now, I would just like to understand. I mean, is there any spotlight, that you would like to give me, with respect to your passion, of empowering, these Appian partners, to generate transformative business outcomes? And having said that, what were the key learnings that you have grabbed, while being part of this entire process?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've learned over the years is that you as a company, first, you need to define quite well what is the ideal customer profile, right? Like in my relationship with partners, I've had a lot of times where a lot of partners want to become or want to start a relationship with Appian, but when you start drill down into the specifics, what are the type of profile or the customer profile that these partners are looking, or these organizations are looking to get to, is sometimes it's not aligned to what Appian is looking at. So I think it's very important that there is a transparent relationship in terms of what they're looking to get, what type of industries are they looking to go after, what type of size of a company are they going after, because that just makes it much more easier. Otherwise, we are pulling against different directions, what your own organization is working and what their organizations are doing. The other thing I will say is that it's important to, as I was mentioning before, to learn from the partners. The amount of times that I have learned from partners just telling me their processes, just telling me how they approach things, how they see their interactions, it has helped me so much to then go back to Appian and then teach internally at Appian how how we're seeing outside. That type of interaction, the feedback that we can get from the partners is just gold. It's just so valuable to our organization, and it has shaped in so many ways our roadmap, not only technically but as well of how we are looking to sell things. So that is very important. And ultimately, I will also say that as we are enjoying the ride, as we are enjoying the different relationships, it's very when you have had in a project for or in a sales cycle for several months, and you finally reach the conclusion when you actually close that deal, is so empowering to see that the partners are doing it as well, and that they are also succeeding on their own, right? Well, one of the things that I really like about partnerships like this is that our job not only ends when once we are serving, but I love to see that they keep running on
Yeah.
their own. I have now many relationships where the partners are selling on their own. They have access to many of. I love their demos that they are doing. The partners are very creative. They find ways to implement Appian in many ways that I have not thought possible. Just to give you an example, one partner a few weeks ago, I saw a demo where using Appian, they start benchmarking the different machine learning and AI vendors. And it was such a interesting way to see how you can use process to benchmark other platforms, right? So that type of interaction, I love to see it directly. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what we want to do is make sure that our organizations, our customers together are achieving
Yep.
their greatest potential, right? They're seeing the value. And I love to see that there is a win-win situation. It Appian wins, of course, with the sales of a software, but they're also winning with the customer and being successful. They are able to expand more services. And ultimately, our customers also are winning a lot because you see the
Yeah.
success stories that they're having is just so impactful. The impact that a platform like Appian can have on their day to day.
That's amazing, Rodrigo. Now, when we talk about the partners, like in the first place, how do your partners, your prospective partners approach you? Like, what is the medium? Like, is it like, through a reference from one company that you have worked with earlier, or how is it exactly like?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been through the whole cycle, right? A few years ago, basically, it was kind of a free fall. Like we were accepting a ton of partnerships and a ton of getting. We at some point had more than we can handle, right? Now, from a few years from now, we've been very much more selective in terms of not only what partners we have, but also what partners we are investing in, which isn't on purpose, just to make sure that we are able to provide the best value to that relationship. And in many cases, what happens is that there is the organizations that we're working are already very much established. We try to work with big global system integrators, Indian system integrators. So
Okay.
they are very much established. But what happens is that even in
Hmm.
those big organizations, we need to be constantly working in different parts of the organization, right? So they might know us in the life sciences part of the organization, but
Hmm.
we still need to do work on the federal or on the public sector part of the organization. So that's where
That's
we're
right.
seeing more. So the same way that, and I always do this analogy, the same way that as a company, you probably want to start expanding in a customer, and you want to go from the legal department to the compliance to the HR department to keep growing your footprint in an organization. The same way think about the same way for Appian into a partner. We may be very successful in the life sciences in a particular partner, but we also want to be successful in the financial services, in the public sector, right? So we need to keep growing, and those organizations are huge. So we are always busy trying to make sure we're finding the right people to talk to and trying to preach the word of Appian.
When you're talking about, bridging all the departments of, your partner, it means that, you're actually creating a proper workflow. Seriously, Appian's main forte of things is, having a proper workflow, everything connected. And that I can even see, in a real life use case when you approach your partners.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it all interacts, and people sometimes ask me like, "What is the definition of a process? What definition is a workflow?" And I was like, "Everything is a workflow, right? Everything that you interact, everything has a new because we don't operate in silos, right? And when you operate in silos, that's a problem that we can
These
identify.
lots of
It
problems.
all it's all part of something bigger, and that's where the mindset that we want to make sure that partners are also getting there.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Rodrigo. Now, Rodrigo, having said that, now I'm pretty much keen to understand this. Like, what is your take on the low code, no code technologies and how has that evolved over the years?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it's interesting. Appian started with the flow, the workflow, and then we had BPM, and then I feel like it always comes into waves, right? A few years ago, low code, no code was kind of the main thing that versus, and then also it started RPA, etc.
Yeah.
one of the things that I see as a trend is that there is a new feature coming into, and then the entire industry kind of jumps onto that one. But when I see these vendors, when you see each of them, they are also starting to grow to expand their footprint. So what you see now is that the RPA tool or the RPA vendor that only used to do RPA, well, they're also doing low code, no code, and they're also doing BPM, etc. So it's expanded. Actually, that is the consolidation that I'm seeing in the market now. And that's what we're preaching and what Appian is very much trying to go after. What we're trying to do now is that low code, no code is just a part of our platform, but we're seeing as a whole thing, as a full set of features that we can enable. This is actually now, a Gartner defines it as a business orchestration and automation technologies. They have a whole definition of how these all different features together work in a better way. So what we're seeing in our customers is that instead of and we still happens a lot, that they are looking us for BPM or for low code, right? And from
Mhm.
there, we may be and we may have won the first project for a single specific tool, but now we're growing in today's look at us into many other type of tools, right? And that's why, for example, Appian is not a piecemeal software that we're selling in pieces, but we're selling the entire platform because it just makes more sense and the value proposition is much better for our customers. They can realize, like, once that they achieve what maybe they start with low code, no code, then they can also use AI, which comes as part of the platform. Then they also use RPA, which also comes part of the platform, or process mining, right? And all of that, at the end of the day, it just comes back to the workflow and the process. You are trying to solve a business issue, right? And how you resolve it is not a matter of tool. It's not a matter of what is, if we apply AI or we apply RPA. It's about how you provide that value. And it might be a combination of multiple things. So my prediction is that in the next few years, we will see a more consolidation of these software tools, where you see that these specialized tools that were just dedicated to low code, no code, now it's going to be a full software, and it's going to be interesting sell. And I think Appian is well prepared to handle that battle for sure.
That's amazing, Rodrigo. Now, Rodrigo, I mean, when I was part of my former organization, when I was in EXL Limited, every now and then, like let's say quarterly basis, or let's say, every 2 months, I used to see, there used to come new features. Now, suppose, there are new features that are coming in Appian. So, Rodrigo, do you have the habit of, making note of the features, or are you like pretty much well prepared that, these are the new features and I have to use it when I, create a new application or let's say work on a new project?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, because I feel like the only way that you can truly learn a technology is when you actually apply it, right? And that's one of the things that we have done for a lot of times with my team. One of the things that I like is that we, for example, organize internal hackathons just to be able to apply the new technology. Because once that you actually start using it, that's when you learn that, oh, there is a challenge on this one, or I need to apply this process variable, etc. So definitely applying on that one and being on top of it. The reality is that the more technology that comes, it's becoming growing and growing part of the organization, and sometimes it's just hard to keep up with everything, right? So I always tell the partners, like, you need to identify the 2, 3 things on each release that will really help you advance your career. And also, that's what we are trying to do with my team, to make sure that it helps digest all this noise and all these different features that we have, identify the needs of a customer or a partner, and then say, hey, you know what? this might be very applicable for your scenario. Why don't I go and teach you or have a session specifically about this, right? For example, Document Center. Document Center has been now such a great technology for Appian,
Okay.
and we have had so much success with different customers. And it used to be cumbersome, a little bit more complicated to be able to extract and to parse information from a document. You could do it with Appian, and it was, I would say, easy, but you still have to do a lot of development. We developed now a framework, an accelerator, I would call it, that and now allows you to make that extraction and classification very easily. So one of the things that we do all the time with partners is, okay, this one, every time that they see, oh, how can I do this, etc., instead of starting from scratch, we can teach them the other way. And it's a constant evolution. It's a constant way to do it. We are also doing hackathons, for example,
Right.
workshops as well with the partners to make sure that they understand it. But I mean, at the end, also, I would say it's very much because we're passionate about this, right? We care about this one, and I love reading and just for example, in the topic the AI, I have so many podcasts that I listen, just like this one, right? That
Yeah.
I love to hear what's going on outside, to have a different points of view, because that's also very important, that I see all along, right? Like when I see the vendors talking about their particular point of view, we see the particular point of view of OpenAI, or maybe any other vendor that is, and it's important that you also develop your own point of view so that you can really advise and consult to the organization, right? Because part of that is our customers are expecting us that we have a point of view and that we can give them some definition of what is the good way to approach a certain problem. So that's very important for us to also do it.
Absolutely, Rodrigo. Now, when we talk about Document Center, right, which you were saying that that's a very successful kind of a feature in Appian. So I understand that when we talk about that particular feature, is it completely linked to the OCR, the optical character recognition, scanning all those text from the document like a lengthy text? Is it that?
It's a combination, because we are actually doing it as a part of a process, right? So what we're doing there is that we're applying artificial intelligence so that in the same document, you can have a section that just you apply OCR, but maybe a different part of the section, a different part of the document
Oh,
is a
okay.
full text type of, right? So then you will ask the artificial intelligence to digest and understand that document. And that's the beauty of a technology like Document Center, that you can have a combination of things where you can help you make the classification first so that you can identify what type of document is, and then to
Yeah.
extract different type of information. If, for example, one of the things that we had a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, sorry, um, we had a partner that was having a lot of challenge with contracts, and this is for a pharmaceutical that they were having, and they have tried different types of technologies, and it has not had the success that they wanted to. So they give us a challenge. That's what I really like. Like, they give us the challenge. They give us the document, and we pass it through a document center. It was a huge document, 100 document, and it has certain parts where it was a tables, other parts where it was a full text. So the beauty of an application like Document Center is that you can split it by section and say, okay, for this part, I want you to extract it this way. For this other part, I want you to use this other technique. And at the end of the day, you can increase the accuracy of that one. And that's what is the beauty of something like that. One of the things that I will say a lot with partners is that, especially in the Document Center, they are used to find, to give the accuracy of the model that is something that the vendor provides, right?
Yep.
Maybe it's a passport, for example, and the vendor claims that it has 95 or 99%, right? And then once that they run it through the software, they realize that really in their own passport or in their own documents that they are doing, they are having more like 70 or something.
Yeah.
It's the opposite with Appian. I'm not going there and telling them, oh, it's going to be, this is going to be 90 or
Yeah.
95%. But
Yep.
the results that they are seeing with this type
Mm.
of platform, with this type of advancement, it's to have like 95, 99%, which enables such a great, unlock so much value for the customer. And that's those type of scenarios and happy ending. I really love to see them for our customers.
That's amazing, Rodrigo. That's very much insightful, and would like to know more about that, about this particular thing. When we meet in person sometime in the future, and you could, give me a complete overview on that. So now,
For sure.
Rodrigo, having said that, I'm pretty much, keen to ask you this. Like, I mean, can you talk about, your expertise and proficiency, pertaining to the likes of Appian, business strategy, solutions engineering, artificial intelligence, and again, technical pre-sales?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I love about this role is that it has a combination of the three things, right? You need to be able to and to understand the technology at a deep technical level, right? At the same time, you require a communication skill. You also need to understand how to explain it, and it has its own art. And also on the other hand, you also need to understand the business side of things. So for me, that combination of things is a very unique. I always talk about this type of role being like a unicorn. So on that end, for example, I'm really blessed to have the technical background, and it's something that I really enjoy. I always see that people are very much inclining to one or the other. It can be that they are looking to do a particular, or for example, they're more technical like myself, or they are more on the business side, etc. So that's where I advise the team to kind of identify what it's like their core, like their core value or their core technique that they have, and then try to also work on the other ones so that they have a good complement. Um, Now, why is this important? Because once you understand the three items, you can understand what the business strategy. I always start with that. Like, what is the business outcome that the customer wants to deliver? And then after that, you understand why it is important to them, whether if it's to reduction of spending, for example, right? Or CapEx or whatever it is that they want to apply. You understand why is they want to do, then you start going down and then, okay, we can apply this type of technology because I know
Yeah.
how this is, and
Mm.
you communicate with them how they can do it, right? And the focus is actually on the people. You should be
Mm.
trying to make sure that the people are having the outcomes that they want. If even if you have the best technology, and this happens all the time that I see with partners as well, and even internally with Appian, when we are only focusing on how good a system is and how perfect it is, but if you don't communicate the change correctly, but if you don't communicate what the value it is, then it's not gonna get the success. It's not gonna be adopted by the organization. And I've seen that a lot of times, that you have the great application of or a great technology, but they don't know how to apply it. There is no good use case. You don't identify what is going to be there. So at the end becomes a toy, right? Kind of similar to what's happening right now with AI, right? Like there are
Yeah.
a lot of hype around it. There is a
Yep.
lot of hype of what could it do, but what I've seen with the customers and is that it's hard for them to identify where can they apply this type of technology. And for example, that's where at Appian we have this concept of serious AI, which is like, okay, let's apply
Okay.
AI when it's really necessary, when it's really important to apply, when it will give the best value to you as a customer. And then let's make sure that it's iterating, right? And let's not try to go and tell you that everything is going to be possible and then you're going to be demo after demo and nothing is going to be realized. One of the things that I think is key for us is to make sure that we are moving fast and applying AI and removing those barriers in terms of finding a vendor, finding, make sure that the platform. At the end of the day, the AI race is going so fast that it's no longer about the model; it's about how you apply it, and that's what we
That's
need to do with the customers.
100%, Rodrigo. I totally agree on that. Now, Rodrigo, I see that you have the expertise of technical pre-sales, but did you ever come across a situation where you're actually, for a pre-sales, you're going to a customer, and it's very, and it's very difficult to, convince them that they need to use Appian. So, did you ever come across any such instant, in your entire tenure?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's we have had all the scenarios, and this is where also it's good to identify the ideal customer profile as well. In many cases, what I've seen is that the customer is looking for a problem that is too small, and is they have not find it so that the impact that it can have beyond that. And the same happens with partners, right? Sometimes they are looking at us and they're like, "Oh, can you just fix these small applications?" Which yes, Appian can do, and it's a level of complexity. We always like to talk about it, right? Like you
Yeah.
want a tool that allows you to fix the small things, but also to be able to fix the complexity, the bigger thing. Because at the end of the day, when once that if the application is successful, it will continue to scale. So then you will have thousands of people running the application, and the challenges are different. And then you will have security implications, and you need to make sure that you have a certification there, right? Or maybe you start looking at entering the end customer and the citizen like such, right? And then you will have millions of processes running. So you want a tool that has the entire full spectrum. So part of my role as a pre-sales is to make sure that the customers understand that this is Appian is a tool that it will allow you to be very flexible over time. And in many cases, we start with something small so that it's they can like taste what the tool can do for them. But we're always looking at how can it has a real impact. We're not looking for the small departmental type of thing. What we're seeing all the time, and I always tell my experience as a customer as well, right? Like, hey, like I used to do the same, just thinking as a small application. But when you see it as a full length of application, it's a different way of technology that you need to apply, and it's a different set of challenges that you start growing. And you don't want to go over and start doing another in a couple of years to do another RFP or whatever to learn about this tool. That's also one of the things that I tell the partners and customers. Is like the beauty of a platform of Appian is that once that you have it in your repertoire of technologies, like you don't have to go again and then search for another AI tool or another RPA
Yes.
tool and then go and buy and the whole cycle of buying it just takes forever, right? We don't want to do that with a platform like Appian. You can just get it all in a single shot.
That I totally agree on that. When I first, saw myself, projecting in the Appian space, like when I started out as a developer there, I mean, in Excel, when I saw about Appian, I was like literally mesmerized by the use cases, where I saw about different customers, and I'm like, wow, this is really something, that I will actually, enhance such beautiful things, in the IT space. So I can totally relate to the points that you've just shared about, Rodrigo, for sure.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad you had that.
Yeah. All right. So now, Rodrigo, how would you like to, narrate the story behind the AI in Process workshop initiative, that actually talks about, how to educate people around AI and how to apply it. So what's with that exactly?
Yeah, yeah. So a few months ago, we identified that this AI narrative that was going around, um, we identified that the customers were asking a lot of information, a lot of questions about how to apply AI, how to do it. But at the same time, there was a lot of semi-educated people around, right? Like one of the beauty of AI is that it's easy to apply, but it also makes it that everybody thinks that now they're an expert on AI. So we wanted to find a way so that they understand our customers and prospects, identify our point of view. How can they actually apply it? And we also this comes in the live. It was around the time where MIT released that big famous study about that how 95% of the proof of concepts or proof of value of the AI are not reaching production, right? So and we had so many good experiences with AI internally that we have seen over and over that we wanted to give a way of partners and customers to experience it on their own. So we identified that as I was seeing is believing. So the workshop in a process is AI in process workshop is a great way for people to experience. So what we did is that in a few of us got together, we started brainstorming kind of in a war room. What will be a good way to apply AI? And we identified that we had the content available give the partners and customer an experience, a journey, right? So what we do there is that we create content so that partners can go in a guided experience for like an hour, and they can create their first agent, for example, and they
Okay.
understand how Appian can apply the agents. Because believe it or not, it's not the same that the different vendors is providing, right? Like I always have these conversations with others, like Appian can still apply the MCP protocols, the agent-to-agent protocols. But guess what? Because we are a platform, because we have so many features and tools already available at our disposals, we can also use those, right? And
Yep.
what you have built in Appian, you can reuse it with agents. And the agents also are specific to a particular use case, right? I always am surprised by how a lot of vendors are selling this narrative that now everything is going to be an agent, right? And of course it makes sense on their end because that means more tokens, and they
Yep.
can charge more or less, right? So what used to be just
Yeah.
easy if else now becomes several tokens that the those cloud vendors are getting revenue out of. So that part, that's what I'm saying, like that part of educating the customer, identifying the right use case, when to use an agent, when to use AI, when to make more sense, and make it part of the process, which is very important for us. We've been talking, I think, in this conversation over and over about the importance of having a process across the board, and AI can be an enhancement to that process and experience it in a workshop. So anyway, we created those materials, and we released it to our solution consultant organization, and the success has been tremendous. So far we have over 75 workshops across the world in all latitudes, from Japan, Australia, all the way to here in the US, with Appian around the world. Um, and with all of that, the impact that we have with multiple customers, over 1,000 people have experienced the workshop in a process experience, and they have the opportunity to understand how to apply it. And this has been instrumental to learn and successfully engage them and understand our point of view.
Amazing, Rodrigo. That's a beautiful initiative. Now, when we talk about this initiative, like, did you have a chance of promoting this particular thing in a university, for that matter, in Florida, or let's say somewhere in the US? Any university use case?
Yeah, actually, we are doing the same type of concept. For example, we are in a university in Mexico. For example, we are proposing that one, and we do and give them the experience of how to create a workflow, how to create an agent. The reality is that the workshops are so easy to follow along that it's not a problem for them to start interacting with the workflows, right? And interacting with us. But the same has happened with universities in the US, where they have actually experienced the application. Now, everybody wants to know about AI, but because it's a very interesting
Yes.
technology, but
Yeah.
they need to understand also how to apply it. And that's where I've seen the biggest threat, because you know how these things work. When there is such a hype, such an expectation, and if it doesn't fulfill that expectations, then it will stall, right? And I think it has really the potential of having so much impact to the processes, as we were talking,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't want that people and customers just get disappointed of AI just because a vendor oversell the capabilities of the feature.
All right. That's amazing, Rodrigo. Now, Rodrigo, heading on to this, like, how would you like to, narrate your experience of, presenting, at the Appian Around the World event in Mexico City? And having said that, I mean, would you like to, share some fun moments of the event, with our listeners across the world?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me just, for your audience, what we are doing with Appen around the world, it has been an initiative to bring the our main conference at Appian World. It's a great conference for us because we announce so much materials. We announce our next features, capabilities roadmap for the next year ahead, right? This year it was in Denver, Colorado. Next year, end of April, is going to be in Orlando, and we wanted to make sure that we can bring that experience across the world, that everybody can have this experience, that have understanding of us. So we tried, with that in mind, we tried to make some adjustments, some narratives, so that, for example, we have a little bit of the workshop in a box, for example. We also have it as part of the experience. We also had our founders, Mark Wilson, for example, was part of,
Okay.
he was in Japan, he was in Australia, I believe, as well,
Oh,
doing
yeah, yeah.
and speaking about how they can do it. But what makes it unique, I will say, is that everywhere where we were going, we had an experience with a customer with how they were applying just not the process, but also applying AI, which was
Hmm.
very, very interesting. And speaking about Mexico City, the entire day was dedicated to have a pair of very interesting customer applying Appian, applying AI, and at the same time, the partner in at the same time on the stage, showing what the capabilities they're working together. Because at the end of the day, what they're achieving is not just with Appian, it's just a process, a business outcome. And that was the beauty of things like that. So of course, just being able to share with the customers, being able to share with the partners, a fun thing that happened over time is just, like all these people that come that I've learned and I've met over the years is such an interesting way of how they continue their journey, right? And you may think that after several years that we have had a plateau moment, right? That we have achieved everything that we can in this, and the reality is that we have so much potential yet to do. Um, Let me just share one story with your
By
listeners.
me.
There is one particular bank in Latin America that is doing something incredible with crypto, AI, and Appian, and that is
Hmm.
that they are able to all the transactions behind the scenes from crypto. It's basically a crypto bank that they're able to ingest and make sure that they have like all the know your customer processes, all the things behind it, so that their customers, when they are exchanging USD dollars and to, for example, stable coins or maybe even Bitcoin, etc., all is available in a single bank without having to go to multiple
That's excellent.
customers or
Right.
multiple applications. That is something, for example, that I have not seen in other latitudes. And I think that's where we're going to be heading over the next few years with the different, your own bank is going to be able to sell you the same way that it currently sells you gold. They will be start selling you Bitcoin. They will start selling you other stable coins, for example. And I love seeing that as part of a process in Appian. So that was incredible over there.
Hands down. I mean, that's a very good, let's say, that's a very good point. I mean, that's a good roadmap, for Appian at the moment, with respect to this, just one single bank for crypto, for Bitcoin, for gold. So I just love that. And I'm really looking forward, how Appian is going to come up with their advancements. And I'm pretty sure Appian is going to come up with something cracking for sure.
Absolutely. There is a lot of enhancement things that are coming. And as I was saying, like more to come on Appian around the world in next year, which we're going to announce several interesting things for our customers and partners.
That's amazing, Rodrigo. Now, Rodrigo, I was part of the Appian Around the Event World and Appian Around the World event in Sydney. And I have, seen all these partners like Roboyo. Then I've seen, I think, Citibank, and there was another company. So Roboyo was one company that I saw the most. So now, having said that, like, who are the partners who are part of the, Appian Around the World event in Mexico City?
Oh yeah, I mean, we had, for example, EY is one very strong partner in Mexico City and across. Also, BAS, Minsight also is another partner that are getting there. There are always the usual vendors, and I will also say like the it's a very unique perspective from Appian because you have also those some boutique partners, right? That are very strong at Appian and have been staying with the organization for several years. Like one name that comes to mind is Impera. It's a boutique partner that has helped us over the years, and it's very fulfilling to see how these companies have grown over time because they have attached their success to a company like Appian. And that was something that is very very enlightening, and seeing how they work the same way that I'm very happy to see that the people that were involved in that one, their trajectories and their careers have grown so much, right? The people that I used to see just as a developer or anything, now they are vice presidents or directors. So I love seeing
Fantastic.
their
Yeah.
trajectory, that their careers have also has such a big impact on a technology. Because at the end, we come back to this. It's all about the people, how they are successful, how they are providing value, right?
That's really glad to hear for sure. And I just wanted to even add one more point, when it came to the partners, in the event which I went for, even Deloitte was there. So Deloitte was some big company that, that I saw, Deloitte and Roboyo. So I had even a talk with some conversation with the people who were part of Roboyo. But yeah, it was a lovely event. I just enjoyed everything, in the Appian Around the World event in Sydney. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, that has been a great initiative. We expect to do many more of those next year because it just connects you so much so well to our customers, partners, and prospects. So it's amazing.
Coming to this Appian Around the World event, do you have any plans of, venturing into sub-Saharan countries like Egypt, Algeria, or let's say Lisbon, the European countries, Lisbon, Madrid, and all of that?
Yeah, yeah. So this already have up and around the world, Madrid and Lisbon. We're part of this, but of course we are entering more into the sub-Saharan countries and other ones. Like I don't know about Egypt. I'm pretty sure that probably Riyadh is going to be one of those that we're going to be
Mm,
implementing as well as up and around the world. So I mean, it keeps expanding. So that we
yes.
just want to make sure that we keep making sure that we can provide a good quality event for those countries as well. So stay tuned because once we announce, we will have more to announce on that.
Touch wood, everything is going to be good and Appian is going to expand like anything, with respect to these events. And I'll be like as an audience, I would love to see, what good advancements are going on. So that's very much,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's great because the beauty of seeing these Appian around the world events is that once that you are seeing the event first of all in your language so that you can actually relate to what's happening, and
Yeah.
second is that the examples that are happening are examples that you can relate because they are in your country, are examples that are at least in
Mhm.
your region, that
That's
makes
true.
it more real to what's happening, right? If I tell you or if I tell the audience example of a success story that happened in the public sector in the US, well, it might not be as impactful for other countries, right?
Mm.
Because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
challenges are different. So yeah, definitely happening around the world is something that it's very good for that type of relationship and connection, how we can explain the problems easily to them.
Fantastic, Rodrigo. That's good to hear. Now, Rodrigo, I'm keen to understand this. Like, are there any success stories and interesting anecdotes that you have experienced in your entire IT journey, which you would like to, share in this podcast session?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, two things come to mind. One more recent and another from my previous company. I would say the first one, more recent, a couple of years ago, we started working with a Colombian bank. And
Okay.
as you probably saw, or you probably have seen in my experience, I love when people, with our customers and prospect challenges. And they ask us to, like we have these documents that we want to make sure that we are onboarding these workflows of documents more easily, we can do it faster. And also, on the other hand, that we can extract all this information. Again, Document Center being one key aspect of that one. So, what was the outcomes of that? Well, first of all, we were able to deploy, or now every time that they want to implement a new document workflow, they're able to do it 70% faster than the previous
Yeah.
technology that they have, which is something amazing. But not only that, But the first application that they, or the first document workflow that they deploy with Appian, the first test that they kind of make us to go through, it was in production after 8 weeks, which was something also that they had not experienced before. They were very surprised of how fast, not only how accurate or how good it was technology, but how fast we could implement things. So that was also something that right now is ongoing, and I'm very excited that is going there. The other example that I was also, it's very close to my heart, is with my previous company. At Carlyle Group, we started, for example, I was part of selecting the technology. We selected, in this case, Appian, and then starting to transform the processes from being an isolated departmental type of workflow to have the full, for example, legal entities in Appian, and all how you can create multiple departments. And also, I still have very good friends over there in my previous company. And speaking of careers, their careers have also advanced so much because they have applied this technology and they have changed the processes. And it's always very fulfilling, as I was saying, like to just see how they are keep growing, they are successful, and their impact is goes beyond just kind of the technology that they're applying, but also how their business value, right? So just to give you an example, what used to take
Yep.
several months to just setting up a legal entity in a previous technology, now it takes weeks, right? And it's funny because every time I see them to at Appian World, I see a good friend from my previous company, and I always we catch up, and I always very surprised the stories that he's telling me about how they are applying the technology in Appian, no? So that is something that those two has impacted me the most because they are very close to my heart.
That's amazing, Rodrigo. So, Rodrigo, before we actually, come to a close for our podcast session, let's take a lighter route in the form of a rapid fire round. So, all the while I was, just bombarding you with the questions of, your journey about the Appian, process, about the Appian excellence, your initiative, and about the Appian around the world initiative. But now I'm not going to bombard with any questions about tech, but about your likes and interests in the form of a quick rapid fire round. So, are you ready with the first question of the rapid fire round, Rodrigo?
Sure, for sure.
Perfect. All right, Rodrigo. So, Rodrigo, since you're from Mexico, and football is a national sport of Mexico. Like, what is your favorite football club that you have supported since growing up?
Yeah, so growing up here in Mexico, there is a big team called Guadalajara, Las Chivas de Guadalajara, which one interesting thing from that team is that they are all Mexicans. And it's just it's in a league that now is becoming very international. To have it all from the same nationality is something very good. So I love them growing up, and I still love seeing them. But now, I guess internationally with Barcelona, I
Oh,
love seeing that team as well. It's been for several years, and lately now in Miami, right? I love seeing the Inter Miami, which this just
yes.
last weekend they became an MLS champion. So I'm seeing Messi in here in Miami.
Was
It's been amazing.
amazing. I'm pretty happy that the Miami city is experiencing something amazing, in the form of Messi's leadership, and I could say prowess on the football field for sure.
Yeah, it's incredible to see the Messi effect, right? The moment that he joins a team, immediately the trophies start getting into that team.
Yes. That is for sure, 100%. That is, yeah. So now you told me that you're a fan of Guadalajara, that I mean the team which you supported, while growing up. Now, if you have to pick up one favorite players of yours, who would that be in the team?
Back in the day, when we were having, when I was growing up and when I was seeing, probably the most famous one will be Javier Hernandez, el Chicharito, that he also
Oh
went
yes, yeah.
Real Madrid and others. So that was one of a team, but many others that were part of the team, like the goalkeeper. Osvaldo Sanchez, I think is the name of the player that I also love to see them. I don't know, like many others that come into that one that I really enjoy watching them growing up.
Yeah. All right. So do you have any, football memory, like first time when you saw a football match in a football stadium?
Oh yeah, in Mexico City, I went with my mom to see. It was the first time going to the Estadio Azteca, which is a huge stadium here in Mexico City, and it was so impressive to see how I remember being very surprised about how good the quality of the field was. You know, like so
Okay.
perfectly aligned and everything
Oh,
and how they could play. It was just something unbelievable. So I really enjoyed doing that. One. My first. I used to remember. I think it was Guadalajara versus at that time a team called Necaxa. And
okay.
I don't recall the score, but I hope that Guadalajara won.
I mean, that might be, long back, probably 20, 30 years back, right, Rodrigo?
Yes, yeah. I'm not gonna say the names of the number of years, just to not say people don't realize how old I am.
No worries, no worries. I wouldn't, spill the beans on that, so don't worry about it. Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you.
So, Rodrigo, since I'm of Indian origin and I come from India, I'm pretty keen to ask you this. Like, what is your favorite Indian food that you have, tried and you love the most?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, there is some dessert. I can't recall the name exactly, but there are little balls that you like have like some type of um, like a sweet bread to it, and then like I said, I can't recall the name, but those I love those sweet breads that is like little balls that they have it. The vessels. And when I'm in New York, there is a restaurant, an Indian restaurant. I'm trying to recall the name. I think Soma, but it's Southeast Indian, and
Okay.
it's more like seafood type of food,
Okay.
spicy food. I remember seeing. I would recommend that if you ever go to New York to go to this restaurant because it's unbelievable. And I remember seeing the shrimps over there like grill with some like coconut like a pasta or sauce. It was so good.
Okay. Amazing. When you were talking about, those sweet balls, I think you are referring that to as gulab jamun, which is a very
Yes,
famous sweet. Yeah. Okay. I got it, when you were saying that, it's there, it's a complete sweet thing, and I just got that idea. I'm like, okay, you're talking about gulab jamun, so that is what it is. Yeah.
Probably,
Yes.
probably. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Right. So, I have had Mexican food, but what is that, authentic Mexican food that, people should try, according to you, since you come from Mexico?
Ooh, you know, the beauty of the Mexican food is just that it's a very, I think it's a lot about the street food, right? If you're venturous enough to go into a street food in Mexico City, I would recommend to go for some good tacos, suadero
Okay.
tacos, for example. I think that's very cool. But I also love particularly the bisteces and chile pasilla, which is like a flank steak with a sauce and in pasilla sauce. And it's just amazing. Like these little small things that you can get. And the beauty of the food of Mexico is not about just the food itself, but the community that goes around it. Like everybody is very
Yeah.
polite. When you
Yeah.
get into a restaurant, everybody says hi. So there is a lot of nurturing. So if you're ever aquí in Mexico, please let me know. I would love to recommend you some good places.
100%. When I'm in Mexico City, the first call that I'll dial you and I'll say, Rodrigo, I'm here. What is the itinerary? How do I, maneuver from here?
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope you come one day.
Definitely. I would definitely be there. Yeah. Now, having said that, I mean, which one do you prefer the most? I'll give you two options. Do you prefer the beaches or do you prefer the mountains?
Oh no, I'm definitely a beach type of guy. I love
Okay.
being close to the beach and spend a good night, a good day, just looking at the ocean and maybe going for a swim.
Okay, nice, nice. That's a good option. Now, I mean, I understand, there are different dialects of Spanish. Everyone in different Spanish countries, they speak different type of Spanish. So, if there is any Mexican Spanish word, Rodrigo, that you would like to teach me, what would that be? Like, what do you use on, regular terms?
It's funny. This weekend I was just talking to my wife about how Mexican has like different type of ways. Like I wouldn't even call it a Spanish. It's just a way that people refer to. So I will call it. I will teach you soponcio.
So, Poncio. Okay.
Soponcio, soponcio, it's really not a word itself that you will find in the dictionary, but what it means is like when you are feeling kind of sick, but you cannot describe the feeling, you will say, I'm getting the soponcio. I'm getting the.
So,
So like, I
Poncio.
don't have a way
Okay.
to describe it. So you
I get
wouldn't
it. I
go to
get
the doctor and say like I have a soponcio because they will not. You will just describe it informally to the people and say I'm getting a soponcio.
That's a very, very interesting word. Yeah, I think I have logged it down in my dictionary. Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. That's good. So, I mean, I'll give you the last two questions, of the rapid fire round. So, Rodrigo, like, what is your favorite movie of all time? It can be English or it can be, Spanish, coming from your home country, Mexico. What would that be?
Yeah. So, I mean, one movie that I love seeing, and every time I see it, I love it more, is Interstellar. I guess that's very engineering type of things, but just love the concept between
Yeah.
travel in time and Matthew McConaughey is one of the actors that I love the most. But I would also say the other movie that I really like, this is probably very geek, but The Dark Knight Rises, Batman, the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
with
yeah.
Huge Ledger. I love that movie, and
Oh
it
my
has
God.
been like very, very, very good. And now with the Mexican movies, just this year, Amores Perros was a movie that is just 25 years of that movie. It's based in Mexico City. If you ever had the time, it's very interesting movie, very well done by. González Iñárritu.
Okay.
So I love seeing the Mexican directors being very successful in Hollywood. So those three
Yeah, yeah.
probably will be the ones that I would recommend and that I see all the time.
Awesome, awesome. That's amazing. So the final question to you, Rodrigo. So what is the last song that you have heard, in your Spotify playlist, or let's say any playlist for that matter?
Ooh, um, interesting. It's a Mexican song. It's
Okay.
called Triple Lavada.
Okay.
It's kind of a combination between like reggaeton with corrido that it's like type of music. That's probably one of the ones that I listen in a little bit more lately. And
Okay.
yeah, I really want-
I will definitely go check out that. You've given me a new thing. Now I think, it's always like that. Whenever I hear something, I'm like, I have to go and check this. So yeah, that
I'll send you the link for sure, Hector.
fantastic. Okay, then offline you can. Looking forward for that. Perfect. All
Awesome.
right. Yeah, yeah. All right, Rodrigo. So thank you so much once again, for taking time from your busy schedule. It was such a lovely conversation, today around Appian and about your journey, the way you were talking about Appian, the excellence surrounding it, the initiative. I just love the initiative, the AI and Project Workshop initiative. That was something very catchy. And, Appian Around the World event was something I could totally relate to because I was also there, but not in Mexico, but in a different part of the world in Sydney. So a lot of correlated aspects to that. So it was such a lovely conversation, and I really see that you are taking as the director of solutions consulting. I mean, you're really doing the best job that I can totally assure. So really, really, that was a completely amazing conversation. So thank you once again, Rodrigo.
Likewise, thank you so much for organizing this, for having me in your podcast. I really appreciate the time that you spend with me, and as well, I hope this is helpful for your audience, and we can reach more. And I hope this is the first of many.
Definitely, definitely a lot. I mean, many more to go. This is just the teaser. It's just the beginning, in simple words.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
All
absolutely. I
right.
would love to be back here.
Definitely, sure. So I think we can, in advance, I think we can, we have just finalized our part two. So pretty soon we are going to come back with it, probably in-person event.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Fantastic. All right. All right, listeners, on this note, this is your host, Akhil Lavluri, signing off. We would be back with another podcast episode with another eminent industry leader very soon. Till then, keep listening. Goodbye, stay tuned, and au revoir. Thank you.